So turning to MOPAC, if I may, Diana. So what are you satisfied from MOPAC's point of view about the progress that the Met are making and the way that they're engaging with that engaged process?
Yes, absolutely. As Mark has mentioned, the Mayor has been to the PPOG, which is the curious acronym for the HMIC meeting that runs the engaged process on a couple of occasions to support the Mayor. And indeed, we welcome the scrutiny that's being provided, and we're keen to use the engaged process and to kind of drive the fundamental changes that we need. So. Yes, the Mayor is strongly in support of the Met's plan and is participating actively in the process. Kenny is the expert on engage, so I am going to ask him whether he wants to add anything.
I mean, well, I would say there's much to add. I think it's safe to say we're very pleased with how it's being done. We're very pleased with the level of engagement that the Commissioner and his team gave us in terms of the opportunity for the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and MOPAC to feed into the turnaround plan. It did feel like a genuine sort of partnership approach there, which was very positive, and we are very supportive of everything Sir Mark has said in terms of having one plan which brings everything together rather than things going off in multiple directions. So not much to add.
So what's the task list for MOPAC in terms of supporting the Met to get where they need to get to?
So oh, sorry.
Diana, can we ask you to answer the CEO?
Well, our task list is to look at the various aspects of the turnaround plan. There are 9 priorities within that, and to scrutinise their progression across those identified areas, including through our regular oversight board meetings, which we have every couple of months.
One of the questions that I think has come up here before, I think with the Deputy Mayor at a previous meeting, was about how it, to what extent it reflects on MOPAC that obviously the Met got to this position. And I was a bit concerned. There was a comment by Sir Tom Windsor that the decision to move the Met into the engaged process was partly about losing confidence in the Met and partly about losing confidence in MOPAC's ability to turn around the Met. And so, his view was that it's not just because the MPS was failing, it was also because MOPAC was failing. So what sort of internal reflections is MOPAC having on that, either on that observation or on the problems that points to?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this last time when MOPAC board came before the committee, and we acknowledged that the HMIC report that has resulted in the engaged process identified some issues that MOPAC had already identified itself. And we continue to use our oversight function to ensure that those issues are being tackled. But of course, we keep that under review constantly. And we, as I say, we have taken steps to strengthen our oversight in areas where we think that has been, has perhaps been deficient, with misconduct being and professional standards. Deficient is perhaps putting it a bit strongly, but where it could be strengthened, with our oversight of misconduct and professional standards being one of those. Of course, I mean, there is always learning to take. There are so many different agencies in this space who are commenting on what the police are doing all of the time. So there is always more that MOPAC should be doing and that we need to take account of.
Okay. It's just that I remember getting slightly cross with the Deputy Mayor at the time when she gave a very similar answer. And the language of the answer you've just given me was about continue to and keep under review. That's not the language of an organisation that's having a sort of deep and meaningful conversation with itself about how its inadequacies led to the problem. It's very different from the language that we now hear from the Met about how there are problems, we acknowledge the problem, not we, Met acknowledge the problems, and this is what we're doing about it. The language of continue to and keep under review, and of course, any organisation, ... that does sound a bit like I mean, I'm trying to find a diplomatic alternative for complacent, but I've struggled. So I'm just going to say it does come across a bit like that.
I would challenge complacency. Sorry, did you want to come in?
No, I was just going to say...
Well, let me phrase the question differently. So what are the real actions that have taken? What are the changes that have happened in MOPAC as a result of this, where you said, we got these problems, this is what we're doing about it differently?
Pardon? Go on.
No, Diana, you're the Chief Executive.
Yes, well,
Could answer these.
we have made various structural changes, as I say, increasing resource in specific areas. So there are things that we have done, and we continue to keep MOPAC under review and ensure that we are doing the best job that we can. I would certainly challenge complacency. Did you want to come in?
To be blunt, the best way you could challenge my charge of complacency would be to list things rather than
Well, let me send you a list of things. In fact, I think that may be one of the outstanding areas in your follow-up from the previous session.
Okay, I'm conscious of time, and also that I've asked you the question a couple of times and you haven't listed anything. I think if I were chief executive of an organisation that had a deeply meaningful conversation with itself about the problems it has and how it's got into difficulty, and somebody asked me what are the things that you're doing in this organisation that you're leading, I feel like I'd have at least one or two on the top of my head. Otherwise, I would wonder, what am I doing?
So can I just come in if that's okay? So first of all...
No, I'm sorry. The questions are directed to Diana.
Okay.
So
As I said, I will send you a list.
Okay, if I can note my disappointment, but I think that's the end of my
Yes,
questions,
okay.
Chair.
Just
Before
to
we
say,
go
I'm in
on
charge
to
of oversight,
No.
so
Yeah,
it is
please.
pertinent to my area.
We've got the Chief Executive here. Tell me, Diana, these meetings with the HMI, do you attend all of them?
No, they're quite limited in terms of numbers. So they will only usually allow us to admit two or three people. So.
But you're the chief, with respect, you've got Sir Mark Rowley there, you can't get more senior than that, and the Mayor, who I have to admit you can't get more senior than that. You're the Chief Executive Officer. We hardly ever see you. I would have thought that was such a high-level meeting and so important to get right. MOPAC should be doing everything they can to assist the Met if they see anything that's wrong, to assist the Met. We must all assist the Met for our own sakes. So you don't go to you send your staff to these meetings as opposed to seeing what's happening yourself. Is that correct?
Well, I think I talked to you when I was last here about my distributive leadership model, which means that I am here to lead MOPAC, not to be MOPAC. And there are other people that can undertake responsibilities. I don't have to do everything personally. It may be sensible for me to go to a future PPOG meeting, and I will decide that as and when. But clearly, I task and I think about capacity and what other responsibilities I may have on a particular day, and whether it would actually add much weight for me to attend, as well as Sophie, the Mayor, Mark and Kenny.
Yeah, it's very important, and I will just say thank goodness Sir Mark is leading from the front. Now, if we could move over, please,